Germany's budget is in trouble. Last week, the Constitutional Court ruled that it was unlawful to re-allocate unused debt originally designated for emergency COVID-19 pandemic funding to current spending plans. This week, the Finance Ministry froze spending across all ministries. But that could be just the tip of the iceberg, as financial woes could lead to political ones, and even potentially endanger the future of Berlin's coalition government. Germany didn't get to this point overnight, however. In ways, the roots of the current crisis even predate the pandemic. And that is because of Germany's so-called debt brake. Enacted in 2009, the debt brake limits how much debt the government can take on, and dictates the maximum size of the federal government's structural budget deficit. The rules say it can be no bigger than 0.35% of Germany's annual GDP. Since the global financial crisis, the debt brake has been the cornerstone of German fiscal policy. But then, the COVID-19 pandemic happened. The government took on emergency debt to try to stem the impact the pandemic had on its budget through a temporary debt brake suspension. As it turned out, the extra funding wasn't actually needed. And so, the current coalition government decided to reallocate it to finance policies aimed at climate change and a greener, more sustainable economy. Germany's opposition was not happy about the reallocation and eventually took the matter to Germany's Constitutional Court. Last week, the verdict came in and, in a blow to the government, the court confirmed that the emergency funding was not allowed to be used for policy plans unrelated to the pandemic. The government appeared somewhat unprepared for this verdict and was left fumbling for answers when questioned by colleagues and the press. Some observers, and several Green Party members, have suggested that the climate crisis is as much of an emergency as the pandemic. But the court's ruling stands, and Germany's budget now has a €60 billion, $65 billion, hole. The government has since scrambled to figure out its financial plans. And earlier this week German media reported that the finance ministry had more or less shut down the possibility of any additional spending that hasn't already been scheduled for 2023. A major factor in the government's dilemma is the range of political positions the three coalition partners hold. There's the Greens, who were the key instigators behind the climate policy plans that are now at risk and are therefore heavily attached to its success. Then the SPD, the Social Democrats, who would be content with making the debt brake more lenient or increase taxes. And the FDP, the Free Democratic Party, who control the finance ministry and don't want higher taxes or higher debt. But a full break-up of the government is unlikely, according to a research note published by Eurasia Group directors Jan Techau, Mujtaba Rahman and Jens Larsen.